Alright, I'm back with another Destiny 2 video. This week at Reset here. We are only in week 3, so there is still a good amount of stuff to do every week here. And new story beasts and things that drop. I am still on Savathun watch, and yet this week we are kind of talking all about Crow. Petra is really involved this week, so there's kind of a good bit to go through here. In terms of actual gameplay, there is not a third Astral boss, as far as I know. I don't think anything is bugged. Like they are still missing the Scorn segment of the mission at week 3 reset here, which is kind of annoying because it's only 2 things for the entire activity. But we are back to the Taken boss, the ogre that shoots a bazillion things. We do have a new third Shattered, what's it called? Shattered Realm, is that what it is? Where it's the mystery puzzle thing. You kind of have to explore and fight things at the same time. This week gets us our third upgrade for the compass, which allows us to travel faster in those weird slow zones. You can't do it your first time, but at the end of that mission, you will get that and be able to do it after that. So I'm going to go explore around there later, and yet a lot of this is kind of threaded with story beats, the main one being that Crow is really adamant about wanting to talk to Savathun because he was best friends with Osiris. Osiris was his mentor, and yet the Osiris that Crow knew was Savathun 100% of the time. We knew Osiris back when Osiris was kind of like the crazy old dude who multiplied himself into a bunch of copies and wanted to get Saint back and stuff, but the Osiris Crow knew from Season of the Hunt onwards was always Savathun. Mara has forbidden him from seeing Savathun, and then this is being enforced by Petra Venge. There is a fun little story it's not a cutscene, it's one of the ones that take place in the actual game engine between Petra and Crow, where she is like threatening to slit his throat. And then Crow is like pretty sick of all this at this point. He really understands that like clearly this all has to do with who he was before, and he wonders out loud towards the end of the mission here that, you know, why is he the only guardian that has to pay for his past life when no one else does? Crow makes a good point, because I don't love the idea that we have kept this from Crow the whole time, nor do I find it particularly plausible that no one has told Crow who he used to be, and Crow is not able to glean that information from himself, given that it was this massively high-profile event that Uldren Sov, brother of the Queen, betrayed us and murdered Cade, a member of the Vanguard. Like, that's a pretty big historical event. It's like if Lee Harvey Oswald came back to life and like couldn't understand who he was, even though he was the dude who killed JFK. Like, this is a very big cultural event, and it does not really sit right with me that it has taken this long for kind of the truth to be revealed. I have to believe that like this season we are going to tell him. This seems like even Petra's like, yeah, I think it's kind of inevitable at this point that we tell him, but we don't actually tell him this week, so I assume it's going to happen soon. But like even once we do, I don't... This has always been kind of the tricky thing with Crow, where it's like, how much does it matter that it was Uldren? Because like, how often does it even come up that, you know, about whoever a Guardian was before they were resurrected? Because everyone is at least supposed to have their memories wiped when they are risen as a Guardian. And like, do we know who we were before we came back to life? Some random civilian in old Russia, apparently, because that's where we were all resurrected. But like, do we know who Zavala or Ikora were in any meaningful capacity, you know, before they came back to life, or any of the famous Guardians throughout history? I feel like there was either not that much information, if any, tied to who these people were before they became Guardians. And if there is, it's not usually that big of a deal. I'm having trouble even thinking of a single instance about when it really mattered who someone was, you know, before they're the person we know now. The only one I can really even think of is Banshee, but that wasn't even a Guardian thing. That was just his memory was wiped so many times as an Exo, he forgot he was Clovis Bray. That has not really come up again. Like, it was kind of a neat connection, and for at least a little while there, it seemed a little worrisome that maybe Clovis Bray would try to take over Banshee's body again. That has not happened. I don't think that's on deck to happen anytime soon, given that we are nowhere close to Europa or the Clovis Bray storyline anymore. So it seems kind of weird that, yeah, Crow is like being given all these restrictions and treated as this total liability. What they keep saying is that Crow and Uldren are echoes of each other and that they share similar personality traits. Like they are, Crow and Uldren are both kind of eager to please. Crow is eager to please his ghost and us, his like new best friend. He was eager to please Osiris, whereas Uldren was eager to please his sister Mara. And this week, if you do the finding the Atlas Skews thing, Crow continues his story about how all he wanted was to find the scepter and be able to like fight alongside his sister. And then Mara actually says like, I could have given him the scepter and let him rule over the kind of Reef borderlands, but like she knew like he was kind of destined to die in the way he did and be reborn. I find that kind of funny because it sounded to me like Crow could have been ruling over the Tangled Shore like Spider is, and then ironically he became kind of Spider's slave person, hitman guy, and that's when we first saw him. So I just think it's kind of funny that could have been his other job. So right now, Crow really wants to talk to Savathun. Savathun tells us this week that like she really did mean what she said to Crow about like how much she kind of empathized with him and knew what it was like to be an outcast. Again, I guess we have to take everything Savathun says with a grain of salt because she's the queen of lies and all that kind of stuff. But she I don't know what like the worst case is that could happen if Crow gets too close to Savathun. Like I know everyone's worried he's going to become Uldren again. And yet, I think Uldren himself is kind of undersold because, yeah, he murdered Cade and stuff, but it was the Shang-Chi plotline. It was, he was being influenced by an evil wish dragon and he thought he was saving his sister. So, like, even when he was, like, evil Uldren, he still wasn't really as evil as he could be. Like, he's not an evil dude. Past that, we got a little bit more from Mara about... she did this kind of speech about how just because you wield the light doesn't mean you're good, and she cites the warlords that used to use the light to just abuse people and take power. And then she cites that the darkness does not mean you're evil, and she talks about how we found that out in Europa. But she's like, I've seen true evil, and true evil is the Hive Gods and the Black Fleet, and the one who commands them, the voice in the darkness. This is again a direct reference to some sort of figure that we are kind of gearing up as the ultimate battle or the ultimate boss of the Light and Dark saga. Whether or not Savathun is actually going to end up helping us fight against that being, I don't know, but that seems like the likely path to me at the end of all this here. And then, so we didn't really get any new information there, but I guess the voice in the darkness is like the most like namey name I can remember hearing for this entity. And so like it like controls the Black Fleet apparently, and the Hive Worm Gods like work for it, I guess, and by proxy Xivu Arath and the Taken. So like it controls a lot of stuff, and that is concerning. We were kind of pitched as it was like a neutral party between light and dark, but seems pretty dark and evil to me. Again, I don't think this is going to be fully fleshed out for a while. But it is nice to get kind of these early hints of that we are facing some sort of giant, overwhelming entity in the future that is not something we've been in direct conflict with yet. I don't know if like when we speak to the pyramids, quote unquote, like if the whole when the ghost takes over and talks to us, or when we're talking to a mirror image of ourselves that's promising us salvation, blah blah blah. I don't know if that is the voice in the darkness speaking to us or not, but I am willing to bet the voice in the darkness is who Oryx was communicating with and who gave him the power to take back in the day. So it's all kind of coming together in that regard. And then the final few story crumbs, Ikora makes an announcement over the PA system that, just kidding, Osiris was not actually a bad guy. I know you saw him betray us, but that was an illusion. She doesn't like name Savathun as being in Osiris's skin, but she's like, I'm open to questions. I'm gonna be walking the streets. You can ask me whatever you want. Like, say hi to your local vanguard, whatever. And then that unlocked a lore entry for It was from the perspective of a Hive Knight who works for Xivu Arath. I forget his name, but he is the guy, like he's the boss, I think, of the very first story mission of this. It's a Hive Knight that is able to come back to life a lot. I don't know what the deal is with there, but like he hates Savathun. He works for Xivu Arath now. He's hunting us, and he was really excited that Xivu Arath took Osiris's light, because he remembers when Osiris slaughtered all of Crota's kin and how Savathun stood by and kind of let that happen. So this Hive Knight has a lot of opinions. I don't know if we'll see him again or if this is just kind of a fun little story aside, but I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, that's kind of your story recap, and then a couple of gameplay things in there at the beginning where it's a little bit more the same, but things are kind of progressing on the unlockables front. And I'm about to do a bunch of seasonal challenges and things and try and get some of those secret areas in the new zone. And we'll see what happens. But anyways, that's all I got for right now. And thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.